Here's how I quit my 9-to-5 day job of doom through tax deed investing and buying super cheap properties. You know, back in the day, I was a miserable oil rig worker. I was tapped out, living in my parents' basement, spending more money than I made. I had all the toys, all the trappings of the material world. However, I knew that this was going to lead me to a place of being broke, over leveraged, and away from my family. So I decided to get into real estate, and I chose tax deed investing as my vehicle to do it. And I want to share with you guys here today the steps that I took to exit the oil field, exit the oil rig, and really live a life of freedom and adventure through real estate, which is what it provided to me, and way beyond my wildest dreams, which is pretty cool. So like if you're watching this and you know maybe real estate piques your interest, but you don't know kind of where to do it or where to start, maybe you can take away a few tips as far as what I did, because I was buying such cheap properties. Like I was buying property for as little as $50, worth thousands of dollars. And you know, when I first heard about tax lien and deed investing, I'm like, man, this sounds like a scam. It sounds too good to be true. Like if it works so good, why isn't everybody doing it, right? However, when I started to peel back the onion, I realized that it was a legitimate business. Now, just like anybody, I had my hurdles. You know, my girlfriend at the time was against me. My family was against me. You know, I was a successful oil rig worker, and I was also starting my apprenticeship for welding. And when I told people that I wanted to get into real estate, I thought they'd be happy for me and cheering for me. However, it was just the opposite. Everybody was like, oh, it's kind of risky. I don't know about that business. Sounds a little bit fishy, right? And one of the mistakes I made was like I was, you know, super excited. It's like anything. When you're excited, you start talking about it to people. However, one of the mistakes that I made was I wasn't quite educated on the topic yet. So smart people would ask some questions and I wouldn't quite know how to answer it. So I didn't sometimes, maybe I didn't sound the smartest when explaining it. However, I knew I wanted to get into real estate. And one of the things that happened is I was working on the oil rig one night. And it was like springtime. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with oil rigs, but it was springtime. The ground started to get soft. The oil rig tilted a little bit. And these things called the blocks that put the pipe in the ground shifted. And this thing malfunctioned and like 10,000 pounds of metal came crashing down to where I was standing. I jumped out of the way, friggin' scratched my face up on the grating on the oil rig. And I'm like, man, this is bad. I don't know if I like this job anymore. And that was really it. That night, you know, as I was like cleaning the mud off my face and the blood in the mirror, I'm like, yeah, I got to do something about this. So, you know, I started reading more books on real estate and I signed up for a tax lien and deed seminar. And I basically went all in. I gave my 2 weeks notice. The seminar started, I think it was like December 1st, 20 years ago now, 21 years ago. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm jumping in head first. Now, I know a lot of you guys watching this might not be able to jump in head first into real estate, kind of like I did. However, there's a lot of things that could probably take away from the scenario and the situation that allowed me to quit my job in this. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, I'm Dustin Hahn, and this channel is dedicated to helping beginner real estate investors get into tax liens and deeds. I've been in this now for 21 years, believe it or not, right? Look very, very young. But it changed my life. It springboarded me into real estate, allowed me to travel the world and really live the life of freedom that real estate can provide. So if you like real estate, if you want an unconventional way of making money in real estate, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up, you can subscribe, and in this video I'll just kind of share a little bit more of my story. So basically, you know, I was working on the oil rigs, I was 20 years old, living in my parents' basement. You know, at that point, there's not a lot of shame at 20 years old living in your parents' basement. Yeah, come on. Maybe if you're 40, could be a bit of shame there. However, I knew I wanted out, right? And basically I went to this real estate seminar. They sold us on tax liens and deeds. They had the nerve to, how dare they pitch us, right? But I signed up. It was $5,000 over 20 years ago, and I'm a person of action. So one of the mistakes people make, and one of the challenges, like YouTube wasn't around back then, so I had no other choice. I got VHS tapes on how to, you know, further my tax lien and deed education. So I'd be there in the basement rewinding the tapes. You know, my friends would be going out to the bar and I'd be like, nope, sorry, I gotta watch my tax lien and deed tapes. And I'm like, what the heck is that, right? And so I'm watching the tapes, and luckily I met somebody at the auction, or sorry, at the seminar, and they're like, you know what, I'm going to an auction in Washington coming up in 4 days. Come down, meet me there, and we can walk you through it. And I was like, oh, this is cool. So went down, met him there, and we went to the auction, and it was great. We looked at a bunch of property. It was in Washington, but it was lots of vacant land, which was cool. Farmland, and we look at the properties, we go to the auction, super excited, and I'm gonna get a property, right? And sure enough, the auction happens, and everything got sold, went over my budget, and I was very sad. However, the person that I met there at the auction was like, just wait. They had 1 hour to make their payment for the property. And what I didn't realize is that a lot of people don't pay when they bid, right? So what happened is he called it like the secret auction. He's like, we're gonna come back and we're gonna go to the secret auction. So I'm like, oh, great, this is cool. So we go back and, I think there was like maybe 30 people, and now it was down to like 5 people. And one of the pieces of land that we looked at was 40 acres of land. And the person who won the bid on it didn't come and pay. They had an hour. And sure enough, I was in the mix and I won the bid for $4,200 on that property. And it was worth over 40 grand. And I'm like, holy crap. My eyes opened forever. Like the feeling, the exhilaration that I got was massive. And one of the big problems, right, is when you're getting into real estate, especially now with YouTube, is you have just a million different channels, a million different directions. And, a lot of people, it's like, I always give the example, it's like, just because you read the menu doesn't mean you're gonna be full, right? Or get the nutrients. And that's kind of how a lot of folks are on YouTube, is they watch all these videos, they're an armchair warrior, they know about all the theories, but they've never put it into practice. So for me, back then, one thing that worked for me is like all I had was my little VHS tapes and the knowledge that I had. I couldn't go on YouTube or online and learn about wholesaling or flipping or commercial real estate or crypto or Amazon stores or blah, 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 blah that makes money, right? So I had one thing I could do and I did it. And I started flipping properties, going to these sales. I'd fly to a city, pick up some property, flip them, and I just started doing this over and over again. And actually at the time, I was living in Canada and it was cold. And growing up listening to the Beach Boys, I'm like, as soon as I make enough money, I'm moving to California. So I found myself, I was 20 years old and I had $40,000 in my account, which was way more money than I ever thought possible, just in a very short time through real estate. So I'm like, see you later, Canada. And, the funny thing is how many people were against me when I got into it. My girlfriend would be like, oh, you're going to one of those stupid real estate seminars. Or, some family members were like, this is a bad idea. What you're doing, they don't understand it, right? And that's going to be one of your biggest challenges, whether it's your spouse, your family member. Remember, especially a spouse can be a big one because they want to keep you safe. They want to protect whatever it is, right? Because if you go and do something new and you make a mistake, then you're risking that, whatever, nest egg or the credit card or all that sort of stuff that you're, going to spend the money with. So it's going to be hard sometimes for some people if you don't have support. And it's also going to be hard if you've made mistakes and lost money before. But like for myself, when I went to that auction, one of the big things that clicked for me why I was able to do it so quickly was at the time, I didn't even really think of the term like mentor. You know what I mean? It wasn't a mentor. I just showed up and he helped me through it. He helped me with the county research and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, I was getting mentored in person at the auction. And that's how I was able to learn by doing, which for me was like super important back then. And then I went on, and because of that, I had the communication. I'd bounce ideas and properties off them, and that really helped me just rocket ship my success in tax liens and deeds. So, one of the things that we do now is this YouTube channel. We teach beginners how to do it. We give away tons of free information on this channel. But another thing that we do is for folks who want to learn by doing. Maybe you're sick of YouTube videos and you want to get off the seat and actually go do this. What we do is rather than seminars now, we do like in-person live auction training. So you can actually come and join me and my team at a live auction. We're heading out here in a couple weeks. And we can take you by the hand and pull the properties, do the research, help you go bid, and really learn by doing. So there's a QR code on this screen right now. You can schedule a totally free call with us and we can discuss if you want to come join us at one of these sales. It's a heck of a lot of fun. It's a very small group. It's not a seminar, just as many people as we can fit in a van. It is a good time. There's also a link below in the description. The calls are free to book. So that helped me a lot. And if you want that help, it's available too. If not, no big deal. But that's really how I quit my job. I got the education and I executed like my life depended on it. You know, I had to sell some of my oil field toys, and it was very sad to sell my snowmobile and a couple of the motorcycles that I had, but it was definitely all worth it. So I'm not sure where you're at, but you might have to make a small sacrifice to make it happen. But that's okay, right? You're gonna win much more in the long run. And the cool thing these days is you can take action and attend a lot of these online. Like back in the day, I was traveling and having to fly, but now you can do these auctions online from the comfort of your home and your underwear or whatever you want to wear. So I recommend you get started. There's a ton of videos here on this channel to check out. And from there, we got tons of free resources. And once again, if you want some hand-holding help or want to come join us at one of these auctions, we can take you by the hand. We'll go look at a bunch of properties. It is a bit of hard work. It's 3 days of actually doing the business. You can come join us. There's a link in the description. Now, obviously, only come on this trip if you can afford to invest in real estate and some training, right? It's not a seminar. You know, if you only have less than a couple grand, it's probably best to start with some over the counter. But if you're super serious, there's a link. You can book it there. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you soon.